Okay, welcome back to my primer slash rambling discussion of Godbound, the uh, the RPG of shenanigans and giving players godly powers that will assuredly be abused. Uh, so we are just partway through our look at all of the different divine powers available to players, as well as other deific characters that they might encounter. Because keep in mind, there are many other Godbound that are going to be in the game, most likely, and they also have access to any of these abilities. So battles between Godbounds could certainly be pretty ridiculous, I think. But all right, last time we finished up on the Word of Bow, which was all about ranged combat and things like that. So now we move on to Command, which is all about leadership and ruling over others, mind control, things like that. If you pick Command, you are likely looking to have control over likely mortals that you want to command into battle or things like that. So it boosts your charisma. You can communicate with any intelligent creature, understanding them and being understood in turn. So this you don't have to worry about language or anything like that. It is just your divine command that transcends all language barriers, and they understand it. So guards seize him. Up to a small mob worth of minions or a half dozen individual retainers can be made to appear in the current location, provided they're within 10 miles of the Godbound. They have to be formally pledged to you to follow you. So you can't just pluck like random villagers from anywhere that don't even know you exist. They have to have said, yes, I will follow you into, wherever you want me to go. But you can just leave them in their village and then just like, oh, hey, I need a dozen people here to soak up something or, do whatever. Just boom, there they are. So that's pretty cool. Know the inner truth. You can understand the true motivations and intentions of any conversational partner. Their true motivations. That's pretty powerful. Again, in a normal D&D game, that would be insane. You just automatically know the true motivations and intentions of anybody. But, you're demigods. Yeah, so basically you can force people to, follow anything you want them to do. Some of the abilities, I think, if it's like, if you're forcing them to do something very suicidal, they probably won't do it. But some of them, say even with suicidal or unnatural orders, you can command people. So, yeah, you can just force an entire village to walk off a cliff if that's what you want to do with your godly powers. It's possible. Bearer of the Scarlet Crown, your legitimacy as a ruler is unshakable. You have an intuitive awareness of all publicly known major events in groups or communities you rule or administer. You have an intuitive awareness of all publicly known major events in groups or communities you rule. So, even if you're across the world, if something major happens in your city that you rule, you just know about it. And you can tell your viceroys and officials what you want them to do at any time, whatever you want. That's pretty cool. Invincible Iron General, all NPC soldiers serving under you gain +1 hit die. Hit bonus equal to your level and a morale of 11. A morale of 11, that's pretty good. Basically, for morale, every unit has a certain morale number, and if something occurs that would shake their morale or would potentially make them flee or doing something like that, you roll 2d6. And you have to roll, if you roll higher than their morale, I think they flee or something like that. So there are some units that have a morale of 12. They're like, generally they're like mindless or insane or, really like zealots or something like that will just never, like, they'll very willingly just throw themselves into death. But, having a morale of 11 means it's very, very unlikely that their morale is going to be shaken. So that's pretty good. Your will is automatically known by all your lieutenants, and you always know the location, condition, and general activities of all military units that accept your command. So yeah, if you just want to be, the general, you want to rule over an entire army and just sweep across the continent, that's something you definitely take. Because all soldiers serving under you gain +1 hit die, a hit bonus equal to your level. Like, that's pretty good. For a lot of units, that's gonna like double their health or almost double their health, and a hit bonus equal to your level. I mean, that could get pretty damn good. Your soldiers could easily tear through any other mortal force. You're gonna give a command if directed at a group. All lesser foes up to a vast mob in number instantly obey anything short of a suicidal order. Yeah, again, you could just snap your fingers and make people do stuff. I also like each word has this little green box here, the word of command in play or the word of death in play, things like that. And it gives sort of this like little flavor section featuring a Godbound using that word and different gifts of that word. And then it has like a little explanation of what gifts they used in that text. And how it works. And this sort of helps you understand how the word works, how certain gifts work, and gives you some ideas for flavor and sort of limitations or lack of limitations for some of the gifts. The one that I noticed specifically was like for fire. It mentions using this, we'll get to this in a second, but consuming gaze. An object in sight up to 20 by 20 by 20 feet in size is consumed in flame and turned to fine ash, even if normally non-combustible. Which sounds cool right off the bat, but in this word of fire in play, Atet first used her consuming gaze to light the sand on fire, which gave her the flame she needed. So she's in like a desert, and she uses that ability to light a 20 by 20 by 20 foot cube of sand on fire. Which that wouldn't have been my first thought, like that was even possible. But these little green boxes definitely give you some good ideas. So if you're gonna pick a word, you should definitely read the green box to give you some ideas. But anyways, all right, moving on to death. So, yeah, God of Death. That's a pretty cool thing to have, to be. So heroes with the death word can command undead in their presence as an action, ordering up to one mob of any size. So yeah, you instantly become, one of the greatest necromancers to ever exist. If that's what you want. Greater undead get a spirit saving throw to resist and cannot be commanded to self-destruct. But yeah, pretty much, if some lich comes at you, he's got 1,000 skeletons as an army and he's about to take on a city, you can literally just snap your fingers and every one of those skeletons just crumbles to the ground, which is sort of what happens in this little green box. Like, they literally all just collapse to the ground. That's pretty cool. As an on-turn action, they also know the details of what, where, and how anything died or is dying within 100 feet of them. Just little bonuses here and there you got to keep track of. Keeper of the Graves. You can know where every corpse, undead, or fragment of remains within 200 feet. You can tell their identity in life and how they died. And you can also commit effort to have an invincible defense against lesser undead. So if you didn't want to just crumble them to death or something like that, you can also just be perfectly defended against them. Mantle of Quietus. Commit effort. Any lesser foe that tries to physically harm you suffers 1 point of damage before their attack is resolved, with mobs taking a 1d20 normal die. That's pretty good. Pretty much that means, like, if you get attacked by, like, if you get into a tavern brawl, pretty much everything, anybody that even attempts to attack you is just going to drop dead before they even get the chance to do so, which is pretty cool. I mean, a lot of the times that's not going to be, like, insanely powerful. Yeah, it's just, the thing is, there's so many abilities. You have so many abilities and powers that let you just instantly decimate most lesser foes, unless it's like an army. It's really, there's just a lot of, like, flavor things and stuff like that that just make for a cool character and a cool game. But like, that ability is pretty much worthless against, like, because it's only lesser foes, you know. So the things that are really threatening you are generally not lesser foes, like other Godbound, alien creatures and mighty heroes and archmages. Those are generally not considered lesser foes, and we'll get to, like, the bestiary, of which there isn't really much of one, but we'll get to that later. Pale Crown Beckons. That's basically your necromancer stuff. You can summon undead and things like that. You can make abominations and cool stuff like that. Scythe Hand. Basically, you can just look at somebody and do 1d10 damage, which is not bad, and it always does at least 1 point of damage, even if it misses. Which pretty much mean any peasant, literally any peasant you look at is dead. You wouldn't even have to roll. You're just dead. Just dead. That's cool. Yeah. With Holy Mercy, those reduced to 0 hit dice or hit points within 200 feet of you automatically stabilize or die as you wish. And willing living creatures at 0 hit dice or hit points around you may continue to act for as many rounds as you have levels before they unavoidably fall dead. So, yeah. So combine that with, like, command. You have an army of soldiers. Even if they die, they get, like, stabbed like 20 times, they can just keep going. They just keep fighting for, like, another 30 seconds. And then, they don't even really die. You can just automatically stabilize them. So they're just, they're unconscious on the ground. And if you combine that with some other, like, health abilities or something, you just have this immortal army. It's just awesome. So pick a target. They simply cannot die until you reclaim the effort. They cannot die. If their body is destroyed or widely scattered, they will exist in a perpetual haze of blind agony until magic or restorative miracles are used to gather a corpse part, or until the effort is reclaimed. But they can't use it on yourself, though. Choose a target in any range. A gesture suffices if you can see the target. Otherwise, you must use a name they consider their own true name. So you can do this. You can just name somebody anywhere on the planet. Or I guess in any other alternate realm, if you know their true name. Lesser foes drop dead and cannot be revived without your permission. Worthy foes require the effort be committed to the end of the day, and a hardiness saving throw to resist. And worthy foes must be injured in order to let death reach them. Even a single point of damage is enough. So in this little green box, the character uses Scythe Hand, which always does 1 point of damage, even if it misses, and then you can use Reaping Word to just kill anything. Now, you do have to. They are allowed a hardiness saving throw. So there's 3 different types of saving throws. There's hardiness, spirit, and what's the other one? Evasion. So that pretty much encapsulates everything. So yeah, saving throws are a little bit trickier. It's not like, I think, like, even if you have a 16, no, if you have like a even if you have like 18 in a stat, I think you're gonna end up with like a 12 for a saving throw. So you have to roll 12 or higher. Um, it's like it's not as likely to happen as like an attribute check, but you can use effort. You can commit effort to automatically succeed on any saving throw. You have to commit it for the whole day, so it's not something you're going to be able to spam or want to spam. But you can actually commit it, I think, after you fail a saving throw, so you can sort of change the situation. Be like, this is a really bad effect. I'll just commit effort for the day and just be done with it. So that's nice. Anyways, moving on. Deception, stealth, illusion, and lies. So this would be part of your sort of Loki type thing, the god of trickery, god of deception, stuff like that. So you can always tell when someone's trying to lie to you or deceive you. You can see through mortal illusions and disguises. Yeah, you can see through all mortal illusions and disguise. It doesn't matter if it's the greatest fucking archmage in the world. He's mortal. He's casting mortal magic. You're going to be able to see through it. But if there's another Godbound that also has the deception word and is thus a god of lies, you're not going to be able to just see through that. That's some competition for you. Familiar face, you can blend in with a populace or group, assuming they're not actively vigilant for intruders. No one will bother you unless you wish otherwise. And you know how to act, speak, and conduct business so as to avoid drawing attention. Even with entities who look nothing like humans. I think if it's a group of squirrels, can you just blend in with the squirrels? I don't know. I don't know exactly how that works. But yeah, if you don't want to be, this intimidating godly figure, you can just look like a lumberjack and just blend in as if you've always been there and no one really cares. Or if you want to blend in with the guards of the emperor's forbidden city, or whatever. Your lies can never be detected by magic or other special abilities, including those of the deception words. You can lie to anybody. Lesser foes will always believe them unless they are completely implausible, emotionally intolerable, or would oblige them to self-harm. Yeah, again, it's sort of just like in a D&D situation, having any lie you ever say pretty much be believed by everyone. That's very powerful. I could do wonders with that in a D&D campaign. But here it's just like, oh, that's a nice little bonus. There could be some uses. Perfect Masquerade. You can appear as any humanoid you've ever seen. Worthy foes or with significant personal knowledge of the individual get a spirit save. Unless you do something egregiously out of character. In which case, I guess it's just sort of ridiculous. You mimic voice, clothing, mannerisms, and habits of behavior. Expected habits of behavior. Shadow play, you can create perfect illusions in sound, smell, and seeming, though they are intangible to the touch. So if you like illusions, that's the one to take. Veiled step, lesser foes have no chance to detect you so long as you stay out of their immediate presence and don't draw attention. Okay. Conviction of error. All chosen targets present become convinced that one of their beliefs of your choice is actually a terrible lie that has been imposed upon them, whether it is the existence of a god or the fidelity of their spouse. So yeah, not only can you get them to believe all of your lies, you can make them think that everything they believe is a lie. That's pretty good. You can also pretty much lie to everyone in the area, and they all believe it. You cannot be detected by lesser foes, and you have to attack them or otherwise draw blatant attention, even if you're standing right in front of them. So you don't even need to lie to the guards because you can just walk right past them. They don't even know you exist. Which is pretty good. Buying this gift refunds Veiled Step if I already had, because it's the same effect. All right, Earth. This is a fun one. Command over stone and soil, and invokes the hardness and obduracy of rock. Yeah. So, Earthwalker, here you go. You and your companions may pass through stone or soil without need for breath. It requires an action to enter or leave earthen environs. This gift functions for both natural earth and worked stone, and can be used on soil of any consistency no thinner than mud. And you can also sense hollow spaces in the earth within 100 feet. So yes, you can just walk through the fucking earth. That's it, and your whole group can come with you. You don't need to breathe, you just walk through earth or stone. Like, try and keep these people out of places. It's very difficult. There's so many cool abilities like that. Jewel Bright Eyes. This could also be useful in conjunction with that ability, because while committed, you can see through earth or stone. So you go underground, you can just see everything. Just see everything all around, like through the whole earth for miles. It's crazy. And you can also look out from any gemstone you've ever touched, regardless of where it is now. I don't know how often that will come into play, but there you go. Mountain Thews. Thews. Perform 1 feat of impossible strength. You can lift, throw, or break almost anything you can lay your hands on, ranging up in size to a modest house or small ship. Yeah. So if you want to lift and throw a small ship, there you go. You know, once we get to might, there's going to be a lot more strength stuff, but Earth gets a little bit of that as well because the strength of stone. Obduracy of stone. Your natural armor class is 3. You have an invincible defense against harm by stone, earth, or burial. You need not eat, drink, or breathe. So, armor class of 3, again, that's sort of the gold standard. That's what you want, so that's good. You don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. Okay, you know, it's sort of a role-playing thing mostly, but not bad. You have an invincible defense against harm by stone, earth, or burial. So, if your enemies have, like, stone weapons, that's useless against you. If somebody throws a giant boulder at you, that's useless. But also, if you fall and land on stone or dirt or something like that from any height, you don't take any damage. Because that's what's harming you, is the earth. You know, the pavement was his enemy. It's the same situation. So, the Skyward, once we get there, has just natural immunity to all damage from falling. But that's a little bit of things. So, you know, there's a lot of things that just, like, again, imagination is your limit of just thinking of different situations and encounters and stuff like that, where these powers can come into play. You know, a lot of these things are pretty free form, which is part of the appeal. Rebellion of the Soil. Choose one visible non-magical stone or metal object no larger than a house to disintegrate or collapse. You can collapse larger non-magical structures a piece at a time. So yeah, if you don't like a castle, just fucking bring it down. Nothing's stopping you. You can communicate with earth or stone, seeing and perceiving everything it has witnessed at a certain time of your choice. Stones have no thought as humans recognize it, but they can perfectly relay all the sounds and sights that took place in their presence. Again, it's just one of those things, like if you're solving some crazy murder, I don't know. Builder of mountain peaks. Each round, create, modify, or destroy a stone or earth structure of up to 20 by 20 by 20 foot size within your normal line of sight. It can be elaborate to the limit of your own creative skills. So, yeah. You can create normal earth or stone as part of this process. So yeah, if you want to create a castle, you can easily do that. Like, that's not a problem. And so, you know, again, just having that power to literally just sit there for like an hour and make a fucking castle like it's Minecraft. Um, you can see the effect that these Godbounds can have on a region, on a continent. It's really a big deal. Now, the interesting thing is, of course, what happens to the castle after you're done with it. You know, sure, you might give this small village that's being, you know, raided by bandits, you might give them a castle. But, you know, if they don't, you know, there's going to be people are going to find out about this castle. You know, the leader of the whole region is going to want to come in and take over the castle. All sorts of stuff like that. And it might end up worse than before for the people that you tried to help by making a castle or something like, you know, it's just that's sort of the thing that's going on here. Yeah, so you can make earthquakes and stuff like that, as you might expect. All right, endurance. The default ability for endurance is you don't need to eat, sleep, drink, or breathe. Yeah, you don't even need to sleep. It's pretty good. Every 15 minutes, you heal 1 lost hit point per 3 character levels, as long as you're still alive. That might not sound like much. Like 1 hit point every 15 minutes. Like, you're gods! But no, a level 1 Godbound starts with 8 hit points. Which might not sound like much at all, because it's like, you know, if you're used to D&D, like a peasant has to have, you know, a couple hit points or something like that. But no, we'll get to the combat and the damage, the way damage works. But 8 HP is more than enough to take on a mob of peasants. Body of Iron Will, armor class 3. You're impervious to any natural environmental damage, such as that caused by extreme heat, cold, pressure, radiation, or vacuum. So yes, you can go into space. Such forces used as a weapon or hazard against you function normally. So this is only natural environmental damage. Defy the Iron. Negate 1 physical attack or instance of bodily injury. This gift can't ward off mental or spiritual damage types or magical effects that would normally provoke a spirit save. It's only 1 round worth of damage when facing an ongoing peril that does damage each round. So yeah, for basically 1 attack, you become Superman. And you don't give a shit. You know, if you're dealing with something that only is a very physical entity, you can easily just be the tank. You know, if you're doing this at level 5, you've got this pool of effort built up. You can just, every round, that's what you do. You just commit effort. And it's an instant ability, so you can actually do this right before you get hit. I believe that's how it works. Like, it's it's a reaction. I think they mentioned that at some point. So if they, you know, some giant fucking, like, you know, like from the Avengers, one of those like Chitauri Leviathans is about to smash into you, you can just, oh, I'm immune to physical damage. So that's not bad. Elemental Scorn, you can be immune to heat, cold, lightning, or some other form of energy forever. It's a constant ability. So if you want to be immune to all forms of lightning, you can do so. And as an action, you can commit effort to extend this defense to every ally within 100 yards. So you can make your whole fucking army or a mob immune to lightning damage. And you can take this more than once to get immunity to other elements. Okay. Like, if you really just want to be Superman, if you want to be the tank guy of all tanks, endurance is the place to be. Other sort of immunities, things like that. Fear no steel, commit effort. You take 1 fewer point of damage from all incoming sources of damage, whether physical or magical. That literally makes you immune to most. Some stuff would get through if you were taking on like an army. It depends on like if they have magical weapons that give +1 or something like that. You'd be a lot hardier, to say the least. Again, we'll get to the way damage works in a bit. Because that doesn't sound like much. One fewer point of damage. That doesn't sound like much compared to like max level D&D things, but or you can also commit effort for the day to become immune for a scene to attack from lesser foes without magical weapons. So again, if you commit effort for the day, you can literally just walk into an army of foes and be like fucking Balder from Norse mythology. You can just whatever. You just laugh it off. So that's cool. Unbreakable is sort of the same thing. You're immune to everything except mental and spiritual harms until the start of your next turn. And Undying, you cannot actually be killed except by the effect or aid of a word-powered gift, divine miracle, or gift-enhanced attack. If not slain, you regenerate back to 1 hit point in an hour from your largest remaining piece. So, yeah, even if you're just, like, disintegrated, there's some part of you. Because, if you're thrown into a volcano, you will regenerate. There has to be some sort of deific ability that puts you to bed. So that's not bad. Fertility. All right, so this is a fun one because it just sounds like such a big joke to be. I'm a goddess of fertility. It's like, but no, there's some shit in here that will fuck your day up. You have an invincible defense against wooden weapons or objects, vegetal monsters, and plant-based toxins. Okay, so birth blessing. Instantly render a target sterile, induce miscarriage, or bless the target with the assurance of a healthy conception, which you can shape in the child's details. You can cure congenital defects or ensure safe birth. Such is the power of this gift that it can even induce a virgin birth. Again, it's like, how many situations is this going to come up in your campaign where you're just, virgin births for everybody. But but this requires no effort commitment. It is just one action of a turn. So you could you go to a village and every woman in there, you're just, here's a baby for you, here's a baby for you. And you get to shape the details of the child. So you could make them all look like identical if that's what you wanted. Like, there's just, again, shenanigans. There are shenanigans happening in this game. Or you can make everybody in a village sterile if you're the villainous type. Yeah, you could do all sorts of stuff. It's just funny. Second spring, all allies inside are refreshed, regaining vigor as if well fed and rested, and healing 1d6 hit points of damage, plus the Godbound's level. Again, at level 1, that's pretty damn good. Again, you start with like 8 HP, give or take. So, not too bad. Here you go, though. Here's a good one. Seeds of Death. Commit effort. You may induce cancers and killing growth as a 1d10 magic weapon with a 200-foot range, making attack rolls as normal. First round's use of this power is imperceptible to onlookers and the victim, but the second and further rounds produce visible tumors and growths. Lesser foes will die of cancer 1d6 months after you use this gift on them, barring magical healing, even if you elect to do no damage with a hit. So, yeah, you can do some slow roll kind of stuff. If you want an Emperor dead, you can just, look at him, give him cancer, and he's dead in 1d6 months. Unless magical heals, with magical healing or something like that. But, you can do this, to a whole village. You could give everybody in the village cancer if that's what you wanted. This is mostly just like, a sort of an attack gift for fertility, because most of the gifts have some form of attack or something like that. So it mostly functions just a magical attack, 1d10 damage, 200-foot range. But, being able to give people cancer, that's pretty interesting. Sense of Ash, you sense all poisons, plagues, environmental damage, or curses on the land within sight. Recognize diseased or disease-inflicting creatures on sight. Blah, blah, blah. Touch of Green, Restraint. Plants in a 50-foot radius around the chosen point in sight erupt to cling to foes. All enemies in the area must make an evasion saving throw at the start of each round to throw off the vines and regain free movement. Foes subject to your fray die suffer at each round they remain bound. Pretty much this means, again, it's sort of just like a mob killer, like an army killer. Just a 50-foot radius around you means everybody's going to get grabbed by this. They're very unlikely to make their evasion saving throw, and while they're bound, they take your fray die, which just, yeah. These enemies who reach 0 hit dice because of this may either be utterly immobilized or crushed to death at the Godbound's discretion. Okay. Withering Curse. 40 acres of plants instantly die, and the land they were on is cursed to uselessness for a generation, unless reversed by this word's powers. Or you can just reduce everything to ash in a 50-foot radius. It also does 1d12 damage per level to plant monsters, which is pretty good. It's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know how many, like, heroic, great characters are going to be picking Withering Curse. Fucking salting the earth for 40 acres around you. But, yeah, you know, just fun stuff. Here you go, Cornucopian Blessing. This one is ripe for shenanigans. Choose a container holding a non-magical agricultural substance. So long as effort remains committed, the supply will never run out, no matter how much is taken from the container. Can provide up to 10 tons of goods per day per hero level, provided its mouth is large enough to disgorge such amounts. So a non-magical agricultural substance. So this could be, you know, as simple as water, I guess. It could be manure. It could be crops. You know, it could be food. This is how you can feed an entire, you know, nation. The one that I saw that was like, oh, I didn't really think of that, was like, somebody mentioned just having an endless container of heroin. Which, I don't know. I guess it depends on how far you stretch agricultural substance. But this is what I'm saying, where a lot of these abilities are pretty free form and open into interpretation, stuff like that. But again, just shenanigans can occur. But here's probably one of my favorite powers in the whole list. Sever the line. Commit effort for the day and choose a target in sight. The target is rendered sterile, and only a gift or similar power can undo it. All their children immediately suffer a 1d12 damage die. Grandchildren suffer 1d10. Great-grandchildren suffer 1d8, and so forth down to the 5th generation, which suffers 1d4. You can also choose particular descendants to be spared. But yeah, so pretty much this means, more likely than not, on a mortal regular guy, like a king, pretty much every one of his descendants is dead. More likely than not. The only way someone lives is if you roll 1 on any of those damage dies. So, like, the 5th generation, a 1d4, has a 75% chance for each one of them that they'll die. But, yeah, your children, likely dead. Pretty much dead. Very likely dead. Unless, you know, they're more notable than that. You know, if you're dealing with, like, a family of heroes, or even, like, a family of soldiers and stuff like that, it's less likely that they'll all die. It depends. Like, a peasant has 1 HP. And this damage die, like 1d12, that does not correlate. We'll get to the damage thing in a bit. I probably should have explained it first. But anyways, yeah, it's funny because there's going to be a lot of death, but you don't kill the main target. You just render them sterile. So you're severing their line. They're like, no, you're done. You're done. Your name ends here. So you can just kill them afterwards if that's what you want. You want to wipe out the whole family, but it's funny. It's a funny ability. Out in Indian abundance, land you designate within a 10-mile radius becomes impossibly fertile. Crops erupting in mere hours and feeding any number of people within that area. Yeah, so that's more like the opposite of Withering Curse for the good guys that just, oh, have food, boy, there you go. All right, fire. Oh my god, we're 40 minutes into this. I've gone through like I've gone through 6 words. I have no idea how entertaining this is to people, but we're gonna keep making them. All right, so fire, of course, is associated with fire. You are invincible against flame and smoke. You have an innate ability to wield fire as a magical weapon. Range of 50 feet, 1d10 damage die. So we already mentioned consuming gaze. You can turn any object in sight up to 20 by 20 by 20 to be consumed by flame and turn to fine ash. So that includes stuff like sand, anything. Anything. Even if normally non-combustible. Anything. Like a castle. Going back to the whole castle thing. Yeah, you build a castle, but boom, it's ash. Like, that's so badass. If you pick fire and you don't pick consuming gaze, what are you doing? What are you doing? Larger objects may take a few rounds to completely burn away. But, come on. Firestorm. Choose a point with sight. Every chosen target within 100 feet of it is struck by falling flame for a 1d6 die of damage per level of the Godbound. With an evasion save. Yeah, I mean, again, it's sort of a mob killer, an army killer. Because there's... No, we'll talk about damage later. Firewalker, instantly know the location of all flames within a mile. How do you even process this information? It's ridiculous. As an action, teleport and emerge from any larger than a candle flame with any willing companions in physical contact with you. So yeah, if there's some goblins in a cave, I don't know why you would do this, but if there's some goblins in a cave that have a campfire a mile away from you, you can just snap your fingers and your whole party is just there. That's nice. You cannot move more than 1 mile total in any 1 hour. There's a few movement abilities that have that restriction. This is so these abilities don't compete with journeying, which we'll get to in a little bit. That's a specific word that's all about like big travel, like traveling very far. So they don't want things to just wipe out the whole journeying word. Give forth the ashes. You can unburn things in a 20 by 20 by 20 foot cube each round, repairing damage and restoring the condition of burnt objects. Fire damage is healed at no effort cost, but the dead are not raised. Master of the Furnace, you can shape and mold all flame within sight, directing or extinguishing as you wish. So yeah, if you want to be like Pyro and just have huge walls of flame and giant fucking geysers of fire, yeah, it's cool stuff. Nimbus of Flame surrounded by a halo of searing heat. Anyone who attacks you takes 1 point of fire damage before the attack is resolved. So it's kind of like the death ability where, yeah, things just die before they touch you. Also with Burning Rebuke, every foe that attacks you while angry or impassioned suffers your fray die and fire damage. Again, it's sort of insane. Like, you can literally take on... As long as the mob is angry, they are dead before they touch you. Mobs suffer this damage straight. That's even more insane. That's a fucking army killer. Cinder words. Your voice scourges your enemies. Every lesser foe within earshot takes your fray damage each round. Yeah, so again, there's multiple abilities that just... you have a number of ways of just eliminating huge swaths of lesser foes. So somebody in your party probably should have, something like this, where it's just like, yeah, whatever. These people are nothing to me. Searing Blade, you wield fire as a weapon, 200-foot range, 1d10 damage die. Individual victims killed by this explode into flames. 1d6 damage die to all desired targets within 20 feet. And it's always rolled straight against mobs of lesser foes. Alright. Health. So this is your god of healing, god of life. You have an invincible defense against diseases and poisons and can diagnose them instantly. Ender of Plagues. Cure all diseases and poisonings within sight. If the effort is expended for the day, the range of the cure extends to a half mile around the hero, penetrates walls and other barriers, and you become immediately aware of any disease-inducing curses or sources of pestilence within that area. Yeah, that's a pretty big thing. Disease is, often used as a plot element in fantasy games. You have the whole town that's infected with the plague. That's a very simple way to just solve the problem, unless, there's a bigger issue. And you can use that, and you can combine this with, something else to sort of like, you can give that ability to other people. Like, you can give that ability to your worshipers, and so you can set it up in a town that's like, these my followers have the ability to cure any disease, and so that you can just keep them around for all time, and that place can just be disease free. But we'll get to Dominion and stuff like that, and you can just wipe out disease entirely for all time, whatever. Flesh Made True, you're able to cure targets, maimings, blindings, poisons, mutilations, and birth defects by sight once per round. Does not heal hit point damage, but you can restore lost limbs. Intrinsic health, your maximum hit points increases by 2 extra points per level, including levels gained before you took this gift. That's not bad. If you want to be tanky, that's not bad. Merciful Gaze, by sight, you can heal 2d6 plus your character level points of damage. Target must commit effort for the day in order to benefit from the healing, however. So you don't have to commit effort to heal. They have to commit effort to heal. Which means that most lesser enemies, soldiers, things like that, they generally don't get effort. Like, you have to be a little bit special to get effort to spend. Here we go. NPCs and other ordinary mortals normally can benefit but once per day from this gift. Okay. They still have to spend the effort. So it's not going to work on because like a peasant does not get effort. But, for a lot of time, like if I was a DM and the Godbound of Health said I wanted to heal this peasant, I would just be like, all right, you fucking heal the peasant. Like, that's not a big deal. Like, you don't need to stop the game for something like that. Just heal the fucking peasant. You're a god of health. So it's not really a big deal. Things like that are just for balance reasons, for combat and stuff like that. But if you want to heal peasants, generally that's not that big of a deal. Plaguebringer. Your touch or successful weapon attacks cause a sickness of your choice. Worthy foes get a hardiness save to resist. Sickness can be restricted to them or allowed its natural contagion. Disease appears within 1d6 hours and is at full effect within a day. Lethal sickness will kill within 1d6 days without a magical cure. Again, that is just, if you want to wipe out a town, a city, an army, very easy. You just touch somebody, you give them fucking Ebola Kaioken times 20 or something like that, and, within a couple days, the entire army is just done. Or the entire city is just in shambles. There's cool stuff like that. That might not be for every god of health. Not everybody might want that, but that is a one-way trip to Flavor Town, as far as I'm concerned. That's cool shit. Vital Furnace. Instantly heal any hit points lost since the end of your last turn, provided it didn't kill you. not bad. You can take a big hit. As long as you're still standing, you can restore everything. Uh, Commit effort for the day. Regain 1 hit point per round until at full health. Alternatively, you may commit effort for the day to heal 1 hit point or hit die on all allies within 100 yards. And raise ordinary mortal beings from the dead with 1 hit die, provided they died within the past 5 minutes and are not completely mangled. Okay. So, yeah, you could raise a lot of people from the dead, but they had to have died within the 5 minutes. So, it had to have been one big sudden hit. And you can't raise, like Godbound and stuff like that from the dead. Deplete health. Choose a target. They sicken, falling to half their current hit dice or hit points rounded up. Worthy foes get a hardiness save to resist. That's pretty powerful. Just dropping to half health from 1 hit, that's pretty powerful. The issue is, they get a hardiness save to resist, which means that if you're dealing with an enemy that has effort, they can just spend the effort to automatically succeed on that save. But, you cost them an effort. And effort has a lot of uses, as you've seen. Like, almost every ability requires effort, and it's used for all your saving throws if you want to automatically succeed. So you could use that a few times, and eventually they might choose not to, or they might not be able to spend effort. And then, boom, half health gone. But I really don't have a great idea of how combat occurs and how it plays out between like really powerful characters. So I don't know. I don't know how it all. I don't know. Life Giver allies in your presence automatically stabilizes 0 hit dice or hit points, provided their bodies aren't torn to pieces. And you can commit effort for the day to revive an ordinary mortal creature from death if they've been dead less than a day and part of their corpse remains intact. Godbound and other mighty entities cannot be revived. So yeah, even the god of health cannot revive a dead Godbound. That is just... That's it. That's it, man. Yeah. So, overall, this is meant to be just sort of the healer. That's what you'd expect out of it. But you do get some cool things in addition to that. You get the Plague Bringer, and you get the depleting the health, stuff like that. You can, know all about diseases and plagues in the area. There's some cool stuff in there that, if you're relegated, just be, okay, I'll be the healer. You get some cool stuff in there as well. Particularly Plaguebringer. I would be the person to pick Plaguebringer, of course. All right, we'll end off part 2 here. We are past the halfway point, I think. Maybe we're around the halfway point for the words. So maybe the next one will still be all words yet. But then the fourth part, don't you worry, we'll get into all the other stuff. We'll get into the magic, which sure isn't that much to say about magic, but we'll get into magic and talking about the setting a little bit. Look at the bestiary, which, like I said, is not a massive bestiary. It's not like a D&D bestiary. And we'll round it up by talking about probably combat. But all right, you've got some more Godbound ahead of you. Don't worry. My name is Mang. I'll see you fine folks in the next part.